Hi YouTube, I hope that everyone watching this is doing well. So I've seen a few questions about automation and logic. I've seen people asking, how do you get different shaped curves? How do you lower entire regions at once? How do you even get to the automation menu? In this video I'm going to show some of the basics of automation as well as a couple of advanced techniques on how to do quick writing, volume writing, fade in, fade outs on our master channel, do automation curves using the automation curve tool, selecting multiple points, and more. So I hope you enjoy. So automation is a super useful tool that's going to let you change different parameters over the course of the timeline. So I'm going to be using Serum for our first sort of example getting started here. So I'm going to start by just activating our cycle by clicking it or hitting C on the keyboard, and I'm just going to record a chord here. What I can do is hit A on my keyboard to bring up my automation window. Then I can click here. The default is always volume, and so right here we have our volume set to 11.6. Let's say I wanted to increase the volume of our track. I could click another automation point, do as many as I want, and drag it up or down if we want to get louder or quieter. And you can watch as the fader follows this automation curve. You can see that we're now up to minus 8.2 in our fader. If we go back to the beginning, we're back down to 11.5. Now let's say we want something more than just a straight line here. We can hit T to open up our tool menu, or closing Serum here. We could click our tool in the corner here and go to our automation curve tool. So if I wanted to, I could also do T on the keyboard and W to switch to it. TT to switch back to our pointer, TW to switch to the automation curve tool, and then we can begin to draw these different kinds of parabolic, exponential, or logarithmic curves. So we can really get a shape that fits exactly what we're going for. If we want to just steadily increase and then ramp up at the end, we can do something like that. We can have a more S-shaped curve, anything you want with our automation curve tool. We can also add additional points and curve those as much as we want as well to get really interesting automation shapes. I'm going to turn off our volume automation here. Now let's talk about how to automate other different types of parameters. You can see that we've got volume like we just went over. There's also some smart controls, so we can do our master volume, panning, etc., as well as these main controls, so we can do our absolute volume, relative volume, our panning left or right, whether or not the track is soloed, whether or not the track is muted. These ones are just sort of on and off. There's only two values. And then we've got Serum. So Serum is our only plugin or instrument on this track. Let's say that I want to automate a parameter within Serum here. For example, I've got this filter on here, a high cut filter, low pass. What I can do is I can actually automate any knob inside of Serum, even a third-party external plugin. All I have to do is hover over the knob that I want to automate. I can see it's called FX Fill Wet. And then what I can do is I can go in here, hover over Serum. You can see all these different parameters. I scroll down to FX Fill Wet, click into our window. You can see we're down. If we move this up, you can see it's changing our starting point within the Serum interface. And let's just go ahead and apply this filter over time. Let's go all the way to 100 by the end, and we can watch this knob change in real time as we've automated it. Let's try this with let's try this with a plugin. I'm going to go ahead and put an EQ on here. Let's hit A again to bring up our automation window. And I'm going to turn off Serum's built-in filter. Let's close Serum. So now we have that high cut filter removed. Let's automate a filter sweep. I'm going to go ahead and turn on our high pass filter. Let's make it steep and aggressive. We'll start it out at 20 Hertz. what I can do is go in. Now that I've added this plugin here, it appears in our automation selection menu. And I can go in here and select all of our different parameters. This is going to be our low cut frequency. So let's go ahead and click to turn on automation. Let's add a point, and let's slowly filter sweep all the way up to 20,000 hertz, which is the limit of our range. By the way, if I leave our automation on, but turn off the parameter within the plugin, the automation's not going to do anything. It's still going to drag it up, but because it isn't turned on, it's not affecting the sound in any way. So let's go ahead and turn off this automation. Automation can be super useful for things like build-ups in EDM or building up energy during a chorus. It's also useful for doing fade-ins on your entire track during mastering. So let's say I want to take our stereo out, show its output track. What I can actually do is automate the volume of our stereo out. So if I'm mastering a track, I can do fade-ins and fade-outs across the entire track. Let's go ahead and turn off this high cut frequency. You can hear our volume fades in. Let's make it more long and slow. And just like that, I can do fades and automation on my entire project and not just a single track. Now let's say you want to change around multiple points based on what you've drawn. So for example, on our stereo out, it can be a little tricky to shift and click each point individually so that I can then move them together. We can also move groups of automation points by selecting all of them. But if you have a ton of points, it can be really tricky to kind of shift click all of them, especially if they're close together. It can be difficult to grab them. There's another tool in here called the Automation Select tool, which you can get by pressing T and then U, or by clicking it manually. And this is going to let us just drag and select multiple points. So let's go ahead and use our Automation Select tool, TU, and delete all of these automation points on our stereo out. Bring that back up to unity gain by option clicking, and let's go ahead and hide this track. Now let's say we want to do some volume riding. Let's take a listen to our sample again. When you're mixing, there are certain points where you may want to increase or decrease regions of your track quickly. A fast way to do that is to use TR to open our Marquee tool. I can select a region, hit A to go to automation, TT to switch back to our pointer, and click, and it'll actually create 2 points on your line. So let's take a look at this with something like volume. Switch back to our volume. We're going to turn this back on. I'm going to use TU to go to our select tool and delete all of these points. TT to switch back to our pointer tool. Click to introduce our line. Let's start at -7.5. Now I can use TR to go to our marquee. Select a region. TT to go back to our pointer. Click. And now I can quickly draw these regions by switching between the tools. It does take some practice to get quick with this, but this can very quickly let you do quick volume rides in different regions. So this is useful in something like a vocal, where let's say the vocalist moves a little bit further away from the mic during a phrase, moves away to breathe, etc. We can come in here and manually ride these different parts up or down. So I could take a breath out, I could boost a word that came out a little bit quietly, and I can do all this quick automation by getting really fast at these TR, TT, TU, TW. It takes a while to learn, but I highly recommend starting to get these keyboard shortcuts into your repertoire so that you can work fast and efficiently. And those are the basics of automation and logic. I hope you found this helpful. Be sure to give the video a like if you did. Leave any comments or questions down below and I'll be sure to respond to every single one. Be sure to subscribe for more Logic Pro 10, music production, music marketing tutorials. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful morning, evening, night, whenever you may be watching this. Goodbye.